Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred. Thank you for joining me. Have you ever wondered which of two raid champions is the better champion? Maybe you're trying to figure out which one to 6-star next on your account. Or maybe you're having a debate with your clanmates about the best champions for various content. Whatever it is, I really enjoy those debates. It's fun to hear what other people think. It's even great when we disagree because it's always good to have that battle, that back and forth, but also you have a chance of learning something. So in today's video, I am going to share with you my first 32 picks for the best epic champions in Raid Shadow Legends. Of course, we are going to be using our Raid Madness bracket. You didn't think it was over, did you? It's going on for all of March, and we only have a few hours left to vote for our first round choices. So if you haven't voted yet, I'm going to remind you right now that you're going to want to go ahead and vote. I think it's really easy and it's going to be really fun, and it is an opportunity to have that fun debate with your friends. In addition, if you are curious at all, I'm going to show you my picks for the first round in this video right now. I hope you're ready for it. Let's get started. I just want to give a shout out to my 4 collaborators, the content creators who have joined me as analysts in our Raid Madness series. That is Hell Hades, J Gigs, MTG Jedi, and YST. In fact, the second half of my YST collaboration just dropped today over on YST's channel. You should go check it out. It's really fun. We're also talking about free-to-play tips and 6-starring your next champion over there. So I'll leave a link to that video in the description of this one in case you want to check it out after this video. Okay, so here I am on the website. There will be a link to this in the description, but if you're wondering, it is widgets.commonninja.com/raidmadness2024, and that will bring you to this page. Now, if you have already created a bracket, that's fine. If you have not created a bracket, that is also fine. Everybody can vote. You just need to come to this page. Now you will see the bracket here, so if you want to review the matchups, remember we are just doing the first round. As you can see, all of the other rounds are blank. And so literally all you're going to have to do is pick 32 champions. Now I said that this was going to be the top 32 epics in Raid, but of course it's not quite true here, right? Because there could be 2 champions that would both be worthy of a top 32 spot, but they're matched up against each other in the first round and only one can get through to round 2. So this is going to be my 32 picks out of this bracket of 64. And likewise, anybody who's not on the bracket, well, we're going to call them not in the top 32. But okay, so let's go ahead and work our way through. All you have to do is click on the Vote Now button. You're going to get this nice pop-up in the middle of your screen, and you literally just have to pick the champion that you think is better out of these 2. Now, the criteria for your choice is entirely up to you. It could be the more powerful champion. It could be the more end game champion. It could be the more versatile champion. It could be the better progression champion. It could be the champion that you've actually had more experience with and who's actually helped your account more. It could be the champion that you think has the cooler kit, or it could be the champion that you think has the cooler skin. I don't care how you pick it, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be picking based on overall value from a free-to-play standpoint. So I'm going to be considering progression. I'm going to be considering versatility. I'm going to be considering how good a champion is in terms of their best performance. And then I'm going to be considering longevity. So are they good at endgame as well? Those are my criteria. They don't have to be yours. You can do what you want. But okay, so here in our first matchup, we have Godseeker Aniri versus Umbral Enchantress. 2 good champions. I know that when I actually did this matchup, I believe this was with Hell Hades, there was some debate here whether or not Umbral Enchantress would make it through. But I think Godseeker is extremely powerful. I think she's really good for specific content, but she's also a good all-around champion as a support. And maybe what Umbral Enchantress does is difficult to find, but she's not quite as easy to use, and I don't think she'll last as long into endgame. So I think Godseeker Aniri is the better choice all around. I don't think it's that close, although I do think Umbral Enchantress is a good champion. So pick one, Godseeker Aniri. Now, Tayrel versus Thanasil is an easy pick for me. Tayrel is a 100% drop defense champion. He's got a stun, he's got turn meter decrease, he's got a ton of tools, and I don't know what Thanasil does because every time I look at his kit, I don't think he's worth building. So I'm surprised he slipped into the top 64, and yeah, so Tayrel's an easy choice there. Now, Wuzgar versus Annex is kind of interesting. This is a newer champion versus a widely well-regarded champion in Annex. I think probably most people would expect the seedings to be swapped here, that Wuzgar should be the 12 seed and Annex should be the 5 seed. I don't know that I agree with either of those seedings. I think potentially Annex is probably around where I would put him, and Wuzgar's a little bit high. I've pulled Wuzgar recently. I haven't really built him to full potential yet. His kit is interesting. Annex is a good clan boss damage dealer and boss killer in general. I like Fane a little bit better. I think I'm going to go with Annex here. Okay, now Vala and Allure. Easy. Allure is one of the best turn meter champions in the entire game, and Vala is overrated here, even at seed 13. Now, Deacon Armstrong versus Skullcrusher. If you haven't watched any of my videos, you might not know who I'm going to pick here, but if you've watched any of my videos, you know exactly who I'm going for, and it's Deacon. Honestly, I'm going to be hard-pressed to think there's a better epic in this game than Deacon Armstrong. I might have him as my champion. He might come out of the entire thing. Skullcrusher is great. AoE counterattack. There are only a few champions in the game who have that. But Deacon from day one is a powerhouse, and he never stops being useful. Now, Neldor versus Skullcrown is really interesting. I actually really like Skullcrown. I think she's fantastic. And probably 3 months ago, I would have picked Skullcrown. But I've recently built out a Neldor, and I'm starting to use him. And man, he's fantastic. He is absolutely great. He's going to be there in your Fire Knight hard mode. He's easily the most accessible champion that solves Fire Knight hard mode for you. And as a result, I think he's good in the early game, in the mid game, in the late game. You can use him in dungeons. You can use him in wave content. You can even use him in arena. These are both incredibly versatile champions. But just based on recent experience alone, I'm actually going to vote for Neldor. And that hurts because I love Skullcrown. But I think Neldor is maybe the better champion at this point. I think Skullcrown might be a little bit high at a 6 seed. Neldor is definitely low at 11. Skrank versus Magnar. I know there are Magnar lovers out here. MTG loved Magnar, but I have to go with Skrank. He's one of just a few AoE HP burners in the epic rarity, and he's Void Affinity, so no weak hits. Frenzy versus Farrakhan the Fat. I actually like Frenzy, and I think I'm going to be doing a video on her in the next month or so, maybe. I do want to experiment with her first, but Farrakhan the Fat is an ally attack champion. Great boss killer, great clan boss damage dealer. Brings a lot to the table. Farrakhan the Fat here. All right, now we've got Demitha versus Mordecai. Again, another 1 versus 16 seed that our analysts predicted maybe could be an upset. I think Jay Giggs went with Mordecai. I'm going to go with Demitha. I think she's just too strong, and she's a better all-around champion than some people give her credit for. But what she does very well. Ugo versus Fane. I'm sure I'm on the wrong side of this in terms of the popularity contest. I am almost 100% certain that Ugo is going to win this round. But I actually think Fane is probably, from a free-to-play perspective, the better overall champion, especially if you get her early. Ugo does really well in a few places. She's good in Arena. She's good in Hydra Clan Boss. She's good in other content too. I'm not saying she's not, but her kit isn't as versatile. She basically has a decreased defense and a block debuffs. The heal is okay. The revive is tricky to use. Whereas Fane is your one-stop shop for clan boss debuffs. She is a boss killer. You can build her tanky. You can build her damagey. You can use her in an unkillable and a killable. She'll crush dragon for you. She'll crush pretty much all of the bosses in Doom Tower, with a few exceptions. But so this is a highly versatile damage dealer in the epic rarity. I don't think there are very many that are better than her. And so I'm actually going to go Fane. I don't think that's going to work, though. Taragi the Frog versus Sanguinia. I do like Sanguinia. I've started to build one out on my HH Challenge account. She actually has a cleanse and a block debuffs buff, which is great. But Taragi the Frog is, in my opinion, the best epic ally protector in the game. He's got that decreased attack A1. He's got the chance for poisons. He's really the full package when it comes to ally protect. So I'm going to go with Taragi. Hatatsu versus Madame Saris. Hatatsu is fantastic. I would love to pick him here. But Madame Saris really is special, and I think Jay Giggs got it right that she's going to be hard to beat in this half of the bracket. So let's pick Madame Saris. Stagnite versus Sylar. Closer than it may seem. I know Stagnite's going to win this. I don't think Sylar has a chance. I don't think he's that much better than her than what the score is going to show. It's probably going to be like 95 to 5% or something like that. But I would say, in terms of power ratio, it's probably more like a 55-45 in Stagnite's favor. I do like Sylar a lot, but I'm going to go with Stagnite here. Claude Beastfeeder versus Akemptom. I don't think this is much of a choice. I do think Claude is a decent support, but he's easily replaced. Akemptom is a unique champion who does really cool things with debuff spreading, and I think he has a Hex, and he has poisons, and he's got multi-hits, and he's void affinity, and he's got a speed aura. I mean, guy brings a lot to the table, so Akemptom is going through. Genbo versus Ayla. Easy one for me. I love Genbo. I think he's the best arena nuker in the epic rarity, so he's going through. Rector Drath versus Hoskerul. I'm not sure Hoskerul actually deserves to be in the top 64. He definitely deserves to be in like the top 100, maybe even the top like 80. But he might just be outside of the top 64 for me. I think this was a little bit of a reach on Hoskerul. He does have an AoE stun. It's only 75%, I think. It's not a 100% chance. He doesn't have much else in his kit. He's usable. You can absolutely build him to 6 stars. But Rector Drath is maybe the number 2 support, maybe the number 3 support in the epic rarity. I mean, she's absolutely fantastic. Definitely, if you're getting away from the void supports, she might be number 1. Okay, now talking about a void support, we have Runekeeper Dazzdirk. I think this is going to be interesting because I do believe that Runekeeper Dazzdirk is overrated here at the 1 seed. I think somehow he slipped through the cracks and he got to a 1 seed. I don't think he's vastly overrated. I think I would probably put him somewhere around a 3 or a 4 seed. I think he does deserve to be in the top 20. And Phoenix here is probably a little bit underrated. I don't think a lot underrated. Maybe he could be something like a 13 or a 14 seed. I would not put him as high as 10. I don't think he belongs in the top 40, maybe not even in the top 50. He's usable. Again, another good champion that can give you value. But Runekeeper is incredibly powerful. And if you ever ask me which of these two I would build first, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Runekeeper Dazzdirk. And I think he should go through. I'm not sure if he will, but I'm going to vote for him. Okay, the next one is Royal Guard versus Lady Annabelle. This one has me torn. These are both really good champions. I think Royal Guard is an OG powerhouse. People know how good he is. He's usable in tons of content. I think Lady Annabelle is seen as a one-trick pony where she's just a bomb solution. I'm here to tell you she is much, much more than that. She can do a lot of things in this game. She's a great soloer for other places as well, but you can also put a team around her and she'll provide some surprising support, some surprising skill sets to that team. I would check her out, but I know for a fact that the community is going to be going with Royal Guard. And in this case, it's a coin flip for me, so I'm going to go with the community and pick Royal Guard. Now, White Dryad Naya versus Mist Rider Dathi. I think here is another coin flip. We have on the one side, White Dryad Naya, who is clearly the more powerful of the two champions. She has the more rare kit. She's a Void Affinity champion. She's one of the few epic rarity tanks in the game. She brings a strengthen. She has an AoE slow on her A1. She has a big heal for one target. She can also reset the cooldowns for one target. She's hard to use, and she can be a little bit tricky to keep alive if you use her as an ally protector, which she also is. But I definitely think she has the better all-around kit. Now, Mist Rider Dathi is a blunt instrument, does damage, extra turns, extra turns, extra turns, and he hits really hard. So he's fun, but she's better. And I don't know which one's going to win this time, but I'm voting for the better champion, White Dryad Naya. Now, Gala Longbraids versus Duke the Pierce. This is a little bit unfortunate for Gala, I think. She's a fantastic champion, probably deserves to be above a 13. Really good single target nuker. You can use her in PvE or PvP. You're going to get a lot of value out of her. But I think Duke is all around got one of the best kits in the epic rarity. He's a provoker. He's got a 100% decrease attack and decrease defense. Yeah, just a very good tanky defensive-based champion. You know I love my tanks. This is an easy call for me. Man-Eater versus Archmage Helmet. Archmage, I am sorry that you came up against the Man-Eater because he's going to eat you alive. I expect this one to be a runaway. Man-Eater all the way. Oboro versus Miscreated Monster. This is kind of the same thing. I actually don't know that much about Oboro. I've never really built her. She seems a little tricky to me to use. And I don't love damage dealers. I feel like they're a dime a dozen. You can always find a good damage dealer. And we've got better ones in this first round. So Miscreated Monster, however, great tank. Again, ally protector, shield, AoE stuns on his A1. He's got self-sustain with a heal. He's got a good HP pool. He's a little bit squishy on defense, but that is maybe his one weakness. Excellent champion. He's also free in a promo code now for new players, and he's a good starter champion for that reason. But yeah, absolutely miscreated monster here. Dark Kale versus Skiramis. I know that this is going to be a bit controversial. I've had a lot of people in the last week come up and tell me that Skiramis is absolutely a hard early game carry. Can just carry you through that early and mid game. You can use him in all sorts of content, and he's absolutely outstanding. I haven't had personal experience with him, but I'm starting to become a believer. On the flip side, some people have called Dark Kale as the dark horse champion of this entire bracket. People think this may be the best epic in the game. And I'll be honest, he is too low at the 7th seed here. I don't know about Skiramis. I still have question marks about him. I have no questions about Dark Kale. He's a powerhouse, and he's going through. Now, Verges versus Ursula the Mourner. I'm sorry, Verges. You're still kind of cool in Arena. You can still solo some content. You have value. But I think this OG champion has been power crept quite a bit. Ursula, on the other hand, I think is undervalued in the community. I don't expect her to live up to her 2 seed, although I think she could potentially deserve it. I think I would probably place her in, again, the top 4, maybe like Runekeeper Dazzler. I believe she's a top 20 champion for the epics in the game, but maybe a little high at the 2 seed. I'm not 100% sure. Great Doom Tower speed aura, the best epic rarity revive in the game, I think, hands down. And then, good kit in other ways as well. Gives an increased attack and a decreased attack AoE. Another Void champion, so no weak hits. Really good champion. Ursula's going through. And then we've come to the Southeast region. So now we've got Doom Priest against Anchorite. I think this is going to be a runaway. As cool as Anchorite is, he has a buff extension and some other cool aspects of his kit. I think Doom Priest is well regarded as a very useful champion, regardless of when you pull her. I know YST pulled her on his challenge account and got a lot of value, and I'm going with the Doom Priest. Also, you don't need books on her. Ruella versus Morag. I think this is a little bit closer than people are probably going to think. Morag is actually very good. And it's funny because Morag is the higher seed here, but I think Morag's the one that people have more question marks about. Ruella can fit into an unkillable clan boss team. She's great in Fire Knight. She's usable in almost all content where you're going up against bosses. Not a great wave-based champion, but okay. But definitely worth building. I think they're both worth building. But if you had to tell me that I could only have one of them, and I could only build one of them, as much as I like the ally attack from Morag, and as much as I love Strengthen as a buff, I think Ruella brings too much to a team composition, and so I'm going to go with Ruella. Vogoth versus Sinesha. I expect this to be a runaway. It probably shouldn't be. Sinesha is actually a bit underrated. She has a really great kit. She has an HP balancing effect that can be used as a really nice heal. And then she also has a cooldown reset. Not reset, I'm sorry. She has a cooldown lockout, I guess you would call it, where she can actually put one target's skills on cooldown, all of them simultaneously. And I think people don't use her for that very much. They think about her as a blender duo with Skullcrown in the arena, and she does have that AoE A1. But I think she's actually pretty solid. Everybody knows what Vogoth does. He just keeps your team alive. He's got a provoke. And basically when he gets hit, he heals people. And that's pretty cool. And I do like myself some regeneration tanks. So Vogoth is going to go through. I'm sorry for Sinesha on this one. Seeker versus Ostrox. Surprisingly, despite the fact that Ostrox is a 4 seed here, I think he's about to get hammered. Ostrox is a very good champion. You should definitely check him out. He has some cool things. I like his A1. But Seeker is one of those rare champions for whom there is no replacement in the game. There is no legendary, there is no mythic who does what he does. And so I think just from that standpoint, he's going to be incredibly popular and powerful, and he's going through. Now we get to Venomage and Tagore. This is a little bit closer than I think the seeds represent. I think Venomage is definitely worthy of a 3 seed. Potentially even higher. I think Venomage is one of the best epics in the entire game, at least from a value standpoint if you're a free-to-play player. If you pull Venomage in the first few months of an account and you build her to 6 stars, you will not regret it. You will never stop getting value out of this champion. Even in new content, you're going to want Venomage in this rotation against Amius. That's the best heal reduction champion you can probably bring into that fight at the epic rarity. Yeah, she's absolutely fantastic. Tagore, worthwhile adversary, deserves to be higher than a 14 seed, but unfortunately Venomage is far too strong. And so we're going with Venom Mage. Gorgorab versus Mausoleum Mage. Battle of the twin brothers here in the Undead faction. I like both of these champions. Mausoleum Mage gives you a cleanse and a block debuffs. They are on 2 different skills, but that is a rare combination at any rarity, really. But in the epic rarity, there are only a few who do that, and he is one of them. So very good support for that reason. Gorgorab, however, is a great solution for Arena because he's basically a mini Arbiter. That's what he is. When you see Gorgorab, you should think a really scary, freaky, undead mini Arbiter. That's what you should think. Try not to think of that when you go to sleep tonight. But Gorgorab, absolutely fantastic. Good in PvE content, but excellent in PvP content. And I think probably one of the better AoE revivers at the epic rarity as well. Not as good as Ursula, but definitely solid. So I think just too much in this kit here for Gorgorab, so he's going through. Now we get to Whisper and Seer. I knew that these picks were coming, and this is one of the hardest matchups in this round. I think Seer is probably going to run away with it because of the name recognition. But I actually think that Whisper is maybe, especially if we're talking about free-to-play and early game accounts and progression champions, I think she's the better of the two. Seer takes a while to come online. You have to put a team around her to empower her. Whisper, you just have to scrounge up some good gear, and she's going to hit really hard. She's going to help you in Clan Boss. She's going to help you in Hydra Boss. She's going to help you in every dungeon boss fight. She crushes Dark Fae. She is really versatile, and she's a much better progression champion. And again, another Void Affinity. So they're both Void Affinity. However, in this particular case, I think Seer is going to win hands down. I think Seer is just going to walk away with it because I think that's what the community is going to pick. Now, that's okay. That's okay to me, even though I think Whisper might be better from my perspective. Again, not everybody needs to vote from my perspective. So I think Seer is probably going to walk through here. I think I'm going to vote Whisper. Do I want to vote Whisper? This is a tough one. I think I've convinced myself. I think she's the better progression champion. I think she's really versatile. She gives you a lot more in boss fights, and she solves some hard problems. She's a little tricky to use because of her extra turn mechanic, but yeah, I'm going Whisper. I'm probably going to get flamed for that in the comments, but I think I had to go Whisper. Now, Sepulchre Sentinel up against Geomancer. I know for certain Geomancer is going to be advancing from this round. It'll be interesting to see if he gets past Whisper or Seer in the next round, but I think if he does, he might be going to the finals. I don't think he belongs there. I think Geo, as good as he is, and as powerful as he is actually probably properly seeded as a 2 seed. I'd maybe even put him as a 3 seed. I've had this debate many times since Raid Madness started. A lot of people disagree with me, including YST. But I actually think Geomancer is overhyped, if not overrated. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's an S tier champion. I think he's overhyped. I think the expectation is you get a Geo and life gets super easy. And that's just not the case, right? You still need good gear on him. You still need to put team compositions around him. He does solve certain problems quickly, but you can always solve those problems in different ways. He's really fun. He is fun to have. But again, I have not had a Geo on my main free-to-play account ever. I've only ever had him on one account. I did get him early. I built him on that account. He was helpful. He was a very good champion. And I did get fairly deep towards the late game on that account before I stopped playing. But I've solved all the problems that people talk about Geo solving on my main account with no Geo. So I guess maybe my perspective is such that I think he's overvalued. You don't need him. That being said, you don't need Sepulchre Sentinel either. He's clearly more powerful than Sepulchre Sentinel. She's a good champion. You can use her in Clan Boss. You can use her in some other places. But he's the bigger draw, the bigger name, the bigger excitement when you pull him from a shard. And he's probably going to get more progress onto your account than Sepulchre Sentinel ever will. So this round, at least, will be an easy vote. We'll see if he comes up against Seer or Whisper in the next round, if he gets through. And that is it. Okay, so now my votes are going to be calculated. They're going to be added to the pool. And all of the votes will be tallied. They will be going until midnight tonight. So you don't have a lot of time, probably about 5 hours or so from the time this video drops. You can come here and vote. So again, The link will be in the description of this video. Please come here and vote. We haven't gotten nearly enough votes. I would love to see hundreds upon hundreds of players voting. If you're watching this video, go and vote. In fact, you don't even have to hit the like button. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to join the Discord community. You can if you like, but you should go vote because voting matters. All right, that is it from me. I have been Colred. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I will see you in another video soon.